What's going on, guys? It's Matt. Tonight's episode of TKWU, we're taking a look at Kevin Knox. So even just a couple weeks ago, Knox didn't look like a clear option for the Knicks at the 9 spot, but he's really started to vault up draft boards. And physically, it's clear to see why. He's 6'9", he's long, he can shoot the basketball. You can see the potential there with him. And he's the type of player teams can easily talk themselves into. You just look at him, and he's oozing with potential through and through. So let's get right into it with Knox's shooting, which I have super high hopes for. He only shot 34.1% from 3 as a freshman, but his mechanics are so solid. His jumper is smooth. His whole game is smooth. It's probably his best trait. He is a fluid player. Off catch and shoot opportunities, which you'll see a lot of here, he's just absolutely lethal. Coming off screens, running baseline. It's just such a nice jumper, and when he gets to his spot, he's going to knock it down. He scored in the 58th percentile spotting up, which is very similar to our friend Miles Bridges. I have the utmost faith that he'll become a nice weapon as a spot up and catch and shoot guy in the NBA. It's also important to consider the type of offense that Kentucky operates in. A lot of these buckets come from him running off screens or catching inbounds passes, things of that nature. In the NBA, as an option on the wing, when you have a drive and kick guy, that's where he's really going to make an impact. So I want to point out one specific look here from Knox when they played Alabama. He does not need much space to get that shot off, and he's fine taking a contested 3. Look at the confidence that he has with the defense bearing down, that he's knocking down that shot. He sets himself. He gets the high release. He's over the top of the defense, and that is just unstoppable. Those are the type of plays that get NBA teams excited and why he started to jump up some draft boards. So I'm incredibly bullish on Knox's shooting. I think as a three-point threat, he's going to get to the point where he's going to be confident in those looks. The 34% I get, it's not great, but goddamn, it's hard to not watch him shoot a basketball and just be enamored with the form, the fluidity, everything about his jump shot. It makes you think it's going in. And Knox will really benefit from playing with a nice driving kick point guard. I don't know if that's what Frank is at this stage, but he could get there. The bottom line is I love Knox's shooting potential. I think he has a ton of upside there, and it's easy to see why teams fall in love with that jumper. So Knox has a really interesting off-the-dribble game. As a pick-and-roll ball handler, he scored in the 85th percentile, which is just excellent. But what I want to focus on here is Knox's pull-up game and his floaters that he loves to use once he gets in the lane. This set right here against Tennessee is just another example of Knox's fluidity. He's able to fake out the defender, get a nice open look in the mid-range on the baseline, and knock it down. He's incredibly adept at catching the ball, putting it on the floor one time, and getting a nice open look in the mid-range. NBA teams will be best off utilizing him in these scenarios. You need to get him on the move. Give him the ball on the move and let him go to work. Some concerns I have for Knox is that he can get out of control sometimes once he's around the rim, but overall, you see the makings of a nice inside game. He has that floater like I mentioned, which we're going to get to right now. To have this floater already as a well-established part of his game is exciting and enticing. It provides a lot of upside for Knox and also puts defenses on their heels. To know that he can knock down the 3 and also have this in his repertoire is downright terrifying for a defense to have to deal with. Much like his jumper, his height helps him out here because he can get over the top of defenses. Rim protectors can try to give him a hard time when he comes in the lane with this, but they can only do so much. In that specific clip, that's a great contest, but Knox is able to get it right over the top of the defense and score. The duality of this floater and that three-point shot that I've mentioned has all the upside in the world, is why Knox has started to vault up draft boards. Teams are talking themselves into a 6'9" forward that can put the ball on the floor, be a spot-up guy, and finish inside. So at this stage of his development, Knox's defense is mostly theoretical. His limbs and his length are basically the main reason why teams are talking themselves into him as a potential defensive force. He can get into passing lanes because of that length, but he's not particularly strong at this stage. He might have problems with post defense. He's not particularly quick laterally, so he gets beat on the perimeter a decent bit. This is an example of what he does well. Because of his length, he's able to contest the shot, and then the help defense comes in. But the next clip is an example of where he struggles. Teams can take advantage of him in the pick and roll. He doesn't have the best instincts. So the natural concern is, who does he guard in the NBA? If he's going to be a 4, he's going to have to defend in the post. If he's a 3, he's going to have to defend guys on the perimeter, an area which he might struggle in. So time will tell what kind of option he is once he gets to the NBA. So the last main offensive point of Knox's game I want to touch on is his transition offense. He's such a good athlete, and my God, does he run the floor well. He can finish in these opportunities. And although his advanced metrics aren't all that impressive, he finished in the 49th percentile in transition scoring in the NCAA. It had the second highest frequency in terms of possession that Knox used this year. He likes to play in transition. Get him in the open floor, and he's a huge asset. He doesn't really have much in terms of passing chops yet, so that's something that he's going to have to work on, and in transition you'll see he finishes a lot of these looks, but that's also because his teammates set him up well. And I mentioned it a few times, but we just want to hammer it home. Teams are talking themselves into Kevin Knox for reasons like this. They watch him in the open court. They watch that jumper. Everything about his game is very smooth, fluid. Those are the words you should think of when you think Kevin Knox. I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't think I'd be making this video a couple months ago. But Knox's meteoric rise has been kind of unprecedented. We've seen teams talk themselves into him. We've seen teams as high as the Bulls at 7 potentially be an option. I wonder if he'll even get past the Knicks. I think if he's there on the board, the Knicks are going to be seriously hard-pressed to pass on him. And I want to make one thing clear. This is the type of medium that brings out the best in Knox. Watching him in spurts, watching his highlights, you wonder why he wasn't more highly touted before. But watching him play in full games, he's a passive guy. He sometimes takes a backseat when he shouldn't. And he's young. He's only 18. He was one of the youngest players in D1 this season, so that's understandable. But I do wonder if he has that alpha dog mentality somewhere inside of him. I wonder if it will ever be there. And for the type of scorer that he is, I think you have to have that mindset to be able to reach your true ceiling. I can't tell you how many times this year I watched Kentucky and just wanted to grab Knox and just say, "You are the man. Go score the basketball and go do your thing." Undeniably, Knox's best game of the year was a game against West Virginia in January in which he scored 34 points. It was amazing to watch him take over that game. Kentucky was down double digits, and he brought them all the way back in the second half for a big road win. He knocked down a clutch 3 in the waning moments. He really took on that leadership role and said, "I'm going to be the guy to win us this game." That's the Knox that I want to see once he gets to the NBA. Knox is just so young. He's so raw. We don't know exactly what he's going to be, but that potential is tantalizing, and I don't think he'll ever reach it unless he starts to take on more responsibility and become more of an alpha dog. And for those of you that follow my stuff and know how I feel about basketball, that's not always the type of thing that I point to, the mentality of the player, because I think a lot of times players can get over that. With Knox, it just seems like a roadblock at this point in his game. I think he can get over it. We'll see. There are reasons to be concerned. He's not a plus defender. He's certainly not a great rebounder. He hasn't shown much in terms of passing. I don't know if there's any upside there. And the general passive behavior is a concern. Sure, it's probably the most prevalent concern in my mind. He's just your prototypical 2018 NBA forward. At 6'9", he can shoot the 3. He can elevate over defenses. He has that floater that I mentioned in his game. And you kind of fall in and out of love with him depending on the day. I had that happen a lot during the year when I would watch him. Some days I would watch him and just be completely enamored by his game. And other days I just felt frustrated. He's like the little brother that you have that you're like, dude, just do this one thing and you'll be good. You'll be so much better. So I've made my feelings clear. I want the Knicks to go wing. If they take Knox, I'd be completely fine with that. He's an easy guy to talk yourself into. There's a lot to like. And you know what? The Knicks are doing this rebuild right. Knox is the type of player that's going to take a lot of work. He needs to be molded into an NBA player. The skills are there, and it's up to David Fizdale and company to make it work. They'd have their work cut out for them with Knox. He might be the biggest project out of all of the wing options we talk about, especially the 2 bridges. But if the Knicks have done their due diligence and they like Knox the best out of all these wing options, take him. If he's your guy, make him your number 9 pick and turn him into the player that you want him to be. I have this gut feeling that if Knox is on the board, the Knicks are going to take him. Ian Begley mentioned that if he's on the board and the Wendell Carters and the Michael Porters are gone, that he's going to be their pick. I buy it. I think that they like Knox a lot. He had a really great workout with Miles Bridges a couple weeks ago. And you know what? That would be really exciting. Knox is a great prospect. I was on the Mikal bandwagon for a while. I've kind of teetered off a little bit. I still like him, but I'm thinking generally about the type of player the Knicks should target, and if Mikal Bridges is really their guy. Kevin Knox matches up much better with their timeline and what they're trying to accomplish. I'm going to do a video in a couple days for a final big board to talk about what I think is the right move for this Knicks team. But I got to say, at this stage, taking Kevin Knox, I'd be excited about it, and we'd have a lot to dissect over the summer. So with that, guys, thanks for watching. Draft's coming up soon. Can't wait. Just a couple days away. So keep an eye out. We'll have a couple more TKWU videos coming out before the draft. But until then, Matt, signing off.